Yes, we are officially, well, we welcome everyone this morning that's able to join us online via Zoom, and those that'll watch us in the after this is recorded. We have William Morgan, who is our representative for CARTPO, which is the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization. I worked really, really hard to remember those.
Good for you.
Letters, so because it wasn't intuitive at first for me, but we are excited. We had NCDOT last week giving us an update on just the two main highways that they've been working on. It seems like forever, and which we see some end in sight for that. But we wanted to hear about all the other transportation issues that were happening. So we appreciate you, William, being here today. Also, a member of our at-large City Council. So we appreciate you being here today, and I'm going to let the floor be yours.
Thank you. What I thought I'd do is just kind of give you a 30,000-foot view of a couple of different initiatives that the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization, known as CARTPO, in conjunction with the Central Iowa Council of Governments, known as COG, the two of them, we work great with an acronyms. The two of them have worked together on two different initiatives, Beyond 77 and then Connect Beyond. So, and I told Shannon I had cataract surgery on my left eye, walked out of there 2020 2 Tuesdays ago, and I have the next one next Tuesday. So occasionally I have to throw on some readers. So we'll throw on some readers until after the surgery's done, and hopefully I'll never have to do that. But essentially, just a little bit of background. I-77, well, Beyond 77, is a comprehensive plan that its goal is to help move the Charlotte metropolitan area, of which we're part of, forward through recommendations on focusing on I-77 on the corridor. Little background: I-77 was a component of the original 1957 interstate route. The numbered systems when they started numbering interstates. It connected Port Huron, Michigan to Charlotte. And then in 1969, that was expanded, connecting Cleveland to Columbia. And then, of course, as things happen, population in the Charlotte region grew, and other segments of 77 were constructed, like 277, the different spurs off of it. And eventually I-77 would become the region's most critical north-south corridor, serving all of the region. So the Beyond 77 study, which, by the way, you can go to the Charlotte Regional Transportation's website, crtpo.org, and is a very good tutorial or a video that's much more entertaining than I am, that will give you an idea of the whole project. It took about 2.5 years to go through everything. The project limits extend along I-77 from exit 77 down in Rock Hill, South Carolina, all the way up to exit 54 here in Statesville. The corridor study area is defined to look at a 3-mile average radius around the interstate. Okay, and the focus of the study is not on the highway itself, but on all of the parallel and intersecting networks around the interstate facility. You have to recognize that the corridor study is one of regional significance, and recommendations designed to provide improved mobility within the corridor study area, but it also has applications and benefits beyond that. So, a lot of work was put into looking at alternate routes. Even though we've seen the managed lanes come on, they're being used more and more. Transportation, it always seems like you're not catching up quick enough. And so by looking at alternative routes like Highway 115, Highway 21, and the other routes off of the interstate and how that can be used and used most effectively, that's what the Beyond 77 study did. In conjunction with that, through work with the Central Iowa Council of Governments, they decided to do something creatively known as Create Beyond. And this was essentially looking at regional transportation, connecting one area to another and how we can move people from one place to another. There's a tremendous amount of activity going on in Statesville. You've seen the housing market just absolutely explode. There are about 11,000 single family homes in the Statesville city limits right now. And between what is permitted, what's under construction, what is planned to be under construction, that's roughly another 2,500, almost 3,000 homes. So we're increasing the footprint residentially. You're going to see some pretty large economic development announcements. One we just got wind of yesterday, And you saw what happened with the Doosan expansion and Geldwin. There's some activity out at the airport. And these people that are moving here, most of them are coming from the south. They're moving from Charlotte. They're moving from Mooresville, and they're headed our way. A lot of them still work in Charlotte. We have several different modes of transportation that are provided publicly. You know, we've got ICATS. Charlotte has CATS, Charlotte Area Transportation. But the problem is, if I want to hop on a CATS bus, whether it's a Bloom or then take a full CATS bus, the schedules don't match up. The fares are not the same from one transit system to another. So there was a cohesive effort to try to get a little bit more commonality between the regions, where somebody in Statesville could get on a bus or could get on some type of transit, whether it be a van or a bus, and seamlessly go to downtown Charlotte to a doctor's appointment or go to UNCC, not have to stand in the cold and wait. So they're looking at things like terminals. The 5 steps essentially that Connect Beyond did was to create a mobility friendly place. Again, the focus is on transportation and automobile type transportation, but also bike and ped, to expand the mobility choices, to strengthen the rural to urban connections, as we just explained, focus on building a better bus network, and then to get communities to invest in strategic mobility corridors. So, you know, it's funny that years ago, back in the 50s and early 60s, Statesville had a bus system. We had a fleet of buses that would take people from one place to another. And everybody bought a car, and all of a sudden that wasn't necessary. Well, now we have people that are moving here that don't own cars. You know, people that live in New York and Philadelphia and the inner cities, they've never had a need to move or have a car. So they move here and they're looking for transportation. At the same time, employers are having a hard time getting employees from one place to another. For example, Tyson Foods in Wilkesboro runs a bus to Greensboro every day, every morning, to pick up workers in Greensboro to bring them to Wilkesboro and then takes them back. So you're going to see more and more and more of that. So both of these studies are focusing on how we can move people from one place to another, whether it be via I-77 or alternative routes. And then the most cost-effective way and the easiest and the seamless way to do that. Of course, all of this takes money, and we're glad that we have the infrastructure bill. I'm going to leave politics aside, and not all of it is focused on infrastructure, but there's a good portion that will be focused on roads and bridges and our crumbling infrastructure, but also in developing new alternatives, alternative routes, things of that nature. So we're excited about what that's going to do for the region. So I'll stop there and see if you got any questions on Beyond 77 or Connect Beyond. Anybody?
I think some of these studies are already published. Am I right, William?
Yeah, they're both published. Absolutely. Okay. You can go to the COGS website is Centralina, CENTRALINA.org, and you can see that one as well. So, and Shannon, you can link it to your website, the presentation. Both of them are pretty good, and they walk you through. We've got 9 projects currently in either the works, or they're happening now, or they're scheduled to happen in and around the city. Of course, you heard about 40 and 77 with NCDOT. It's a $204 million project that very few people recognize that we almost lost. We had the first segment. This is the second phase now with the flyovers and the access from 40 to 77. That was almost unfunded. And there was a group of us that worked with then Governor McCrory to get that back on the list. So we're very glad that happened. We were one of the last places in the state with that kind of traffic count where you had a cloverleaf intersection, and is very dangerous, and there's accidents, almost daily. So we're excited that should be completed. Everything there should be, and I think their timeline was this time next year. Hopefully, weather permitting, that's going to be done. Another project is the widening of Highway 21 from the Lowe's Home Depot area all the way up to Fort Dobbs Road. That's about a $17 million project. Right-of-way acquisition is already underway for that one. The Greenway connector under 21 right there at the Kangaroo station on Highway 21, that's about $1.5 million. There'll be a widening of Highway 115 Center Street from Old Wilkesboro Road to Hartness Road. That's about a $13.7 million project. If you happen to go north on 115 around 8 o'clock in the morning, you see the line of traffic that is coming south on 115 from North Iredell. It's very difficult if you want to turn into the coffee house waffle shop and get some eggs. You have to wait until somebody lets you through. So hopefully that will get done sooner than later. The connector road between Brookdale and Sullivan Road, right at Lakeside Drive, to ease congestion right at Iredell Memorial Hospital. That, again, right away has been done there. We've already got the engineering. We're going to be talking about that at council, the first meeting in December. That's about a $3 million project. That's important because very soon the 5-point intersection, excuse me, at East End and Davie Avenue will be converted into a roundabout, a traffic circle. And why that connector road is important is that if you stop and think about it, if you're coming from town going out 21, there's a traffic light at Davie Avenue and Water Street. And then you get all the way to the roundabout. And then the next traffic light you'll encounter is at I-40. So you try to think about how the traffic will flow with the roundabout in front of Ingalls, with the diverging diamond. We're very proud of Statesville for accommodating and learning how to maneuver that. It's been very successful, but you've got to have a way to control traffic. So that Brookdale connector with the traffic light is absolutely necessary. Of course, everything going on with East Broad in conjunction with 40 and 77, they'll widen from Vine Street to Signal Hill. You're going to see a realignment of East Side Drive and Signal Hill Drive. So rather than coming out east side, turning right on East Broad to turn left onto Signal Hill, this will be straight across. That's about a $13.5 million project. Shelton Avenue, multi-use path from Garner Bagnell to Amity Hill. That's about $1 million. Again, that has to do with mobility. It's very dangerous. There's no sidewalk in most places coming up Shelton Avenue. And of course, Shelton Avenue is also slated for another phase of what you refer to as streetscape here, the beautification of downtown. Certainly not to that degree. We just don't have the money. But we're going to have that area spruced up because, frankly, that's a gateway into Statesville. If you take a look at exit 45, you've got the Larkin Industrial Development with the Keith Corporation breaking ground. We're going to start on about an 800,000 square foot spec building and another 400,000 square foot spec building. We've already run all the water and sewer. The infrastructure is in there. So if you go by there, you're going to see dirt moving. At the same time, the Larkin Golf Course and that community, there are another 300 single family units under construction there. People are moving in before they even break ground. So people will be traveling up Amity Hill Road to Shelton Avenue. We're going to see a realignment probably of Whites Mill Road to get a little bit more access there. But there's a lot of activity from the south side. And then finally, what we're going to be talking about, we've already gotten a lot of conversation, heated conversation from some residents around Bethlehem Road at the airport. We had to close Bethlehem Road coming in from the west simply because we extended the runway. We got a $9 million grant with no match, I might add, from the federal government. Thank you to Tom Tillis and to Richard Burr. To extend our runway. The problem was we have a 7,000 foot runway. We're landing 727s cargo, but you cannot take off in a imputed safety area, and the FAA makes you impute a safety area on each end of the runway. So in practice, you can land in the safety area, and that's why it's there, but you can't take off in it. So jets like a Victory Air that transport NASCAR crews, if they want to go to California, they can't completely fuel up here in Statesville. They have to gauge their fuel and then stop somewhere in Kansas and fill up at a Jiffy Mart in order to get all the way back to California. That's also going to be important when we're recruiting industry here that has their own jet aircraft. As I said, we've got some pretty exciting things going on at the airport, and you're going to hear an announcement very soon about tenants that will be moving in that will create a little bit more traffic. So we had to close Bethlehem Road. There are two options. Personally, I think the best option, because again, you're going to see a widening. NCDOT has already funded and has already run through the Strategic Transportation Initiative to widen Old Mountain Road from 21 and Troutman all the way to the airport. That will allow a little bit more flow, a little easier traffic pattern for people to get into the airport. So we would like to see the Bethlehem Road connector come in from the south. But there is also a proposal, because there were some residents living in and around the airport that would like to see it come in off of Highway 70. That would save them a few minutes in their commute. It's a little bit more convenient for them. I get it. But ultimately, we'll have to do what's in the best interest of the city. And of course, that comes down to 8 votes and maybe the mayor having to break a tie. Who knows? But we'll talk about that at the next council meeting. So all in all, we got a lot of transportation issues. As you know, the state passed a budget finally for the first time in 3 years. There's some transportation funds in there. Jeff McNeely and Vicki Sawyer were very good to the city of Statesville. The city of Statesville will get around $20 million. I think Costi has mentioned that in the past for water and sewer infrastructure. There are a lot of things going on. So, stay tuned.
Real quick, I know Beth had a question, but we also had a question on our Facebook Live. William, someone brought up years ago an Amtrak station was kind of discussed at City Council. Is that a dead issue? Is that ever going to come back up again, or has it come back up?
No, it's not a dead issue. We'd love to see rail traffic. And of course, that's a conversation that Charlotte has, with the red line, the blue line. There are some that want to, in the region, if you will, that would like to see a line from Charlotte to Mooresville. I think it's going to happen. Whether it happens in the next 5 years or 10 years, I don't know. But right now, if we can get through Connect Beyond or Beyond 77, if we get the regional transit, somebody could hop on a bus here in Statesville, get to Salisbury, catch the Amtrak train there, and at least have access to it that way in the meantime. And just to expand on that, Shannon, we'd also like to encourage the industries that we are recruiting. More and more of them are using rail, and they're looking for rail spurs. And that's another reason our airport is very, very close to the rail line. So we're working with Norfolk Southern to see what could be done there too.
And they also asked, and I don't know about this, so it might be before my time, LYNX, LYNX, can you explain what that is and where
that's the bus line. It's still there in some form or fashion. The Charlotte area transportation has kind of morphed into that. But again, that was the whole precursor to regional transportation, where you could hop on one bus and have the same commonality of fares, everything else schedules. So you're not standing out in the rain waiting for another bus to come. It was a great idea. And it was ahead of its time, and we're catching up to it.
And then Beth, did you have a question? I know we saw you earlier.
Sorry, this actually goes back to the Connect. When, William, will we actually start to see some of those projects come out of Beyond 77 and Connect?
Well, the Beyond 77 study itself, Beth, has already been completed. Done. So now it comes down to each municipality or the region and the state working together to fund some of the projects to get them done. As far as the Connect Beyond, where we've got regional mobility and people can hop on that bus that we were talking about, that's underway right now. Again, it all comes down to funding. I think even through the pandemic, municipalities have done a lot better than they anticipated in terms of sales tax revenue. Ad valorem, of course, if you own a home here in Statesville and had it revalued, you understand that the tax situation has certainly improved. So they're looking for funding. They're trying to figure out the best way to do that. So I would say you would probably see something in the next 5 years. Okay. Great. Which sounds like a long time, but in government speak, that's pretty quick.
No. So let me ask one other question. The national infrastructure bill that just got passed, can we be guaranteed that will be additional funds above and beyond our state budget, or are we going to see our legislature pull stuff back out of the existing DOT budget and because it's getting national funds?
Yeah, it's a real good question. I hope that doesn't happen. I know that North Carolina is slated to be a nice beneficiary from the infrastructure bill, the federal infrastructure bill. I think they've had their hands slapped enough in Raleigh for maneuvering funds from one place to another. They also understand that if they take funds from this national infrastructure bill, they're kicking the can down the road. That's at some point they're going to have to come up with the money to actually do the infrastructure and the roads and the bridges. I can't remember the billions of dollars that will flow to North Carolina for roads and bridges, but it's the most that we've seen since the Eisenhower interstate system.
Right.
But there's, like anything else, there's some fluff in that bill that is definitely not infrastructure. But we're hopeful that once the funds flow through the state and actually get implemented, that certainly here we'll see some of those funds.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Will or Tracy, or do y'all have any questions? I don't think I have any more online. I think we've covered all of them. So if y'all don't have, yeah, go ahead, Tracy.
William, I was just going to say thank you for all you're doing with that. That's a lot of happenings, and I can remember when there was nothing happening with transportation, and that's a lot. So I just want to say thank you for all you're doing with that.
Thank you, Tracy. And if I can make an ask of the chamber, y'all specifically, but the chamber board too, it's a hard concept for somebody to understand why it's important that Charlotte and Cornelius and Huntersville and Mooresville have a good transportation system. But we are a region. And, if you drive up 77 now, it's very difficult to see where one place ends and another place starts. So what happens good in Huntersville and Cornelius and Mooresville and Troutman also affects what's going on here in Statesville. So, obviously shop local, but think regionally, and especially when it comes to transportation.
Well, thank you so much for giving us this great update. I found it tremendously helpful, and we'll probably have you back here soon and give us some more updates as things happen.
No worries.
And we'll be sharing this, like I said, on our website, YouTube, and all of that. So if anyone ever has questions, can they just reach out to you directly, William?
Absolutely. Yeah. Anytime. My phone number's on the city's website, but if anybody wants it, it's 704-906-5508.
All right. Thank you. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, everybody.
Y'all too. Thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks, William.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.